Hi, welcome back to Young and Yielded. I'm Sylvie.
I'm Remy.
I'm Emily.
And we're back. You might notice how we're missing one of our, he's not here because he has a band concert.
Yeah, prayer commitments.
Yeah, but I hope you guys are all having a great week. When this comes out, it's gonna be like Christmas time and Christmas break, and it's gonna be so exciting. Are you guys excited?
I'm
for
so
Christmas?
hyped for Christmas.
Presents.
I spent so much money today. Anyway.
Yeah, Costco.
Yeah.
I love Costco. Costco is so fire and all their free samples.
That is true. That is very true.
Yeah. Our last video, we kind of just had like an intro, and then we talked about spiritual maturity, and now we're gonna be talking about like the power of change and how the Lord, like how powerful the Lord is in certain / many of our situations in our life.
Yeah.
Like one thing I know we talked about last episode was like our cup overflowing. Like all the love that we get from Jesus, like it goes into a cup kind of, and then all of that love, like it's like we're filled up with Jesus's love, and it's able to overflow, and whatever overflows is like we're able to go to other people.
Yeah, spread our love,
which is pretty cool. Love Jesus, amen.
Pretty fire.
Just like I feel like one thing that's hard is like we all have the power to change, but it's like hard to like get over that mountain to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, yeah.
To like start that hike.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But
the mountain of.
I mean, in my own life, I feel like I can see the change from like a year ago. I'm a completely different person, but it's like it's because of Jesus, you know?
Yeah.
Do you have like any?
Yeah.
Comfort in your life?
I think a lot. I think that you can see the change in people. Like it's there's a very visible change. And so then I knew each other before we were walking with Christ, and now after, since we started. So it's like I think we see in each other a lot. Like we see the actual change of one another. And I think it's even though like the journey of like changing your mindset and changing your heart and like sort of fixing your eyes on Jesus isn't always easy, and I feel like it's not always talked about. Especially when you're our age, it's kind of like it's weird to have that shift and have that because there's not a lot of people who
like I feel like even like a lot of influencers, like they're changing from like their life before Jesus, but then they're discovering the Lord, and like it can be hard to like be able to change like your past, like what you were involved in, like your hobbies and stuff and what you did. Like I know a big thing for me, like I had a hard time like cussing and everything and like hanging out with the wrong people, but like once like the power of the Lord like came over me, like I started not hanging out with as many people. Like it's not like it's necessarily a bad thing, but
just like separating yourself from like things you don't.
Because something that like just amazes me is that the Lord hears conversations that we don't. Which is good, but necessarily like in the moment it can be hard to believe that it's good.
Yeah, and I think also like for me personally, like when I started walking with Jesus, I was still like associating myself with people who weren't as good, who weren't as didn't have the same like views and values as I did. And so that's sort of like trying to pull away from that because they're people you love and they're people you care about, and you don't want to like not associate with them anymore. Yeah. But you do like
you like see the difference.
Yeah, you can see the change of like you're like, oh, I don't enjoy this, or like those things make me uncomfortable. Like and I think that's really hard, is to like when you start to feel uncomfortable in a place that you felt like you belonged in for so long. Because and it's not because like they changed, it's because you changed and your heart changed. You fixed your eyes on Jesus and then everything changed. And so it's not their fault. It's just it's a weird like way to think about it, I think. But that's like what was really hard for me.
Yeah.
Like, sort of
I feel like for me it was like I knew things like were changing and I knew things are different. Like they're changing and they're different, and that's it's a hard pill to swallow, like to know that that's okay. Like I'm not friends with those people anymore. I'm not acting the same way. You know what I mean?
But it's like also hard to like find people who are like
yeah.
And I feel like sometimes like after you like give your life to Jesus and the Lord and everything, it's hard to like get past that dry season because like I remember when I got after I got baptized, like I went through like a period, like it's like for like a week or so after, I was just like, oh, I feel like I'm in a dry season, like nothing's happening. But I feel like after that, like it's so hard to like climb over that mountain and like
Yeah.
everything's gonna be okay and trust in the Lord because it's like so much easier.
And like
done.
the learning curve, like you have to wait sometimes. Like I remember I got baptized in June, and then we went to camp in July. So it was like back to back. These great things were happening, and then I was like in like September. I was like, okay, nothing's happening. Like why am I? I was like, something just shifted. Something changed. Something's different. And like there was a big shift of like it went from like there was so much happening, and I could see the change the Lord was making in my life to a waiting season. And like when you are experiencing that change for the first time, that shift of you leading your life versus Jesus leading your life, and you go through that like that for the first time, it's such a strange experience, and it's really hard like to do. Like it's not easy at all, especially when you're not surrounded by people who like walk with Jesus. So it's like,
have you guys ever gone to like a point in life where you feel like so lonely, and it's like how did that like affect you, like even knowing that the Lord was there? Do you know what I mean? For me, like it's like I said, like it's so hard to trust that the Lord's right there. Even like he's always within arm's reach, and like it's amazing. But sometimes it's hard to like feel His presence sometimes in that dry season.
Yeah, and that's sort of like I would always get like I used to get really anxious about that. Like I would like couldn't talk to the Lord, or like He wasn't there, and like I knew He was, and I was like, what's wrong with me? Like why can I not? Like why am I experiencing this? And like I've had people come to me who are experiencing the same thing, and like I would be like, I don't know what to tell you. Like I'm not experienced enough for this, and I like felt like that a lot of like, and it's still a learning curve. Like I still like continue to like learn new things and kind of figure it out, but I think sort of you just have to like fact over feeling. Like even though it feels like He's not there, you have to know that He is, and that's really important.
Yeah. Like coming out of like that dry season, you have a bag that says no rain, no flowers.
Yep.
And in Luke 12, it talks about like, you know, watering of flowers.
It says, consider how the wildflowers grow, which is like they don't, like no one's tending to the wildflowers but God. Like God's the only one who's making rain happen. And so how your cup is filled, sort of like the way that I interpret that is like your cup is filled through God, not through worldly things. So like your overflowing love comes from the Lord, not from worldly idols or worldly people. And so that's kind of what Luke 12 reminds me of. It's like, consider how the wildflowers grow. I always think about that when I'm having a hard time. It's like, consider how the wildflowers grow. I'm like, oh, okay.
Amen.
Okay, cool. But yeah.
We're talking about like flowers. I feel like when we allow the Lord to transform us, like it's like just it's amazing. Like over the summer, me and Remy were a part of an internship, and it was Remy, me, Lucas, Gabe, and Bree. And we came up with like, I know we talked about it last episode, like light bulb people. The idea of light bulb people, like who's light bulb? Like who do you see as light bulb people in your guys' life?
Yessie.
Yeah.
Yessie, you.
Haley,
and Riley. Haley and Riley. Yeah. I don't think light bulb people was such a strange term we came up with. Like I don't even remember how we did that, but basically people with Jesus' glow.
Just light up. Amen.
Yeah.
See.
Like I feel like moving past like the curve of before the Lord has changed your life, like after He changes your life, what has been like one of the most like powerful things that just crap, what am I trying to say? I had it.
It's okay, I'll come to you.
It's like after you've like accepted the Lord into your life, what's like one thing that has stuck with you, like that you know that He's there, like you're like, oh, He's real, like obviously. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
You got baptized, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
It
we
was
got
like-
baptized together.
Yeah,
That
Bama.
buddies.
And like after you got baptized, like I don't know if it happened for you, like I just had like that season. I was like, oh, like nothing's happening. I don't know what's going on. But like after that season was over, what was one thing that like stuck with you that you know like the power of the Lord is like so real and so genuine, like he's so gentle. Does that make sense? Like it doesn't have to be like those things necessarily, but
I feel like it was just like after I got baptized, it was just like everything felt so calm and stuff, and like that's from Jesus, and like I knew that because like my life has never been more calm than like that area.
Snaps for Jesus. What about you, Remy?
I think, like, kind of my constant reminder, sort of, is, like, when I'm having, like, a hard week or a hard month, and I'm really going through it, and I'm really just, like, in this rut, and I feel really disconnected, I always tend to, like, think about rainbows have been a thing for some reason, and I've seen rainbows a lot recently, and it's like in the midst of like the rain and it's cold and it's wet and it's gross, but then for like 5 minutes there's a rainbow and like everything's okay, and it's like it doesn't matter what's happening around me, I just look at it and it's like so pretty, and it's just like
always a good outcome.
And it's like even in the midst of like a really rainy gross day, and then for like just 5 minutes the sun comes out and then there's a rainbow, and it's like, oh. So things like that, like little things like that, or like when it's rained for like a week straight and then we have a day where it's like 70 degrees, and that's just kind of like my mind, like it gets better, it gets to that point where like
we don't know what Jesus can do until he does it.
I know, and that's aggravating sometimes, but
it can be definitely aggravating, especially like when you're in a waiting season, that dry season, and you're just like waiting for something to happen. But I feel like something that's super duper important, like during a waiting season, like I've been in a couple waiting seasons in my life, and like just
been there
like
once or twice.
like I feel like the Lord has always like right now he's teaching me like have hope for the future, like have hope in me, not in other things, not worldly things. Like you will get over like this mountain. Like I've been over the mountain. I'm going over another one. You know, I'm hiking. I'm going, but like have hope for the future, and I'm protecting you. Like I remember at Life Group once. Plug, Life Group Saturdays, 8 a.m. 8:30, 9.
We're late sometimes,
but I don't remember what we were reading, but it just talked about like protection, and at that point I was like in the middle of like feeling like I've just been in the dry season, like I haven't heard from the Lord, and I feel like sometimes people think that's like when they're going through that dry season, they're really thinking about, oh, why isn't the Lord talking to me? Like, is he not here? Like, he's not listening to my prayers, but he's really just teaching you patience, which is really hard to
patience is like
it's like one of the, for me at least, it's like one of the hardest pills to swallow because I want to know what's going on. I want to know what like.
When this is
I want to know what's going on with school. I want to know what's going on with sports, like everything like that. I want to know. I want to be prepared. Like I don't like being unprepared. But I feel like the Lord is like.
I remember over the summer, it was just like I was talking to Brie about something, and I was just like really going through it, and Brie was like, I keep having this vision of you like holding all of these planners, and you're like trying to plan out your life. And I remember just sitting there and being like, it was just one of those moments where I was like, crap. I was like, I really just need to let go of all of it, and that really opened my eyes to be like, I just need to give it to God. Like I need to just like let go, and that was one of the things. Like she said that, and I was like, okay,
Lord,
okay, thanks. Like, and then that was. I think sometimes, like, I, like, don't even pick up on it, and then someone will say something like that, and I'm like, oh. But, yeah, I think I have, like, all the patience thing is really hard for me. Like, I want to micromanage every single part of my life. I want to know exactly what's happening, and then whenever I get to that point where, like, it's like, oh, I know what's going on, the Lord just throws a curveball, and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. That's really great. Now I don't know
Have you ever, like, felt like the Lord's been challenging you with, like, your patience or anything like that? Or, like, throwing a humongous curveball at you, and you're like, well, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but then I remember like you also have to give him time to like work things out too and like figure it out.
What's like a moment in your life that you've felt like you've like needed patience? from the Lord?
All the time.
Yeah, with like school maybe, or sports or friends or anything like that.
Just like really like figuring out what I actually like want to do with my life, and like
Yeah.
That can be scary.
Patience is, I think everyone struggles with patience a lot.
Oh yeah.
I feel like patience
yeah.
is just something that everyone kind of, you have to learn. It's a skill that I've not yet acquired, but I'm getting there.
You're getting there.
It's okay, I'm getting there.
Amen. It's
Amen.
gonna be okay.
I was gonna say something and then I forgot. So
Okay. I feel like something that's also hard, like after the Lord has come into your life, like you're able to like depict what your life without Jesus was like, and how it is now with the Lord by your side constantly, like holding your hand through everything. And I feel like sometimes like I struggle with like sometimes I make decisions that my old self would have done, and it just like I just feel convicted, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, and ugh, you know?
sort of like, I feel like having like little, like, they almost feel like slip-ups, like the person you used to be. And it's like sometimes if I'm like aggravated, I'll like think something that I don't mean, that's mean, but something that I would have like said to somebody, and I think about that and I feel like really guilty about that, and I have to like kind of take a minute to be like, okay, I didn't say it, and that's not the person I am anymore.
Yeah.
But still like feel like guilt of it, you know what I mean? Like I get that completely, like feeling the guilt of like you're not doing enough, or you're slipping up too much, and like that sort of thing, and that's hard.
especially when like you think like you know that you shouldn't say it, and like think it, and then you do.
You do anyway. Yeah, that too. That's.
But I feel like that's also so powerful because you can feel like the Lord changing you.
Yeah, you can see see it change almost. Like you can see that little. You have that moment, and then you think about it, and you like feel the switch, and you're like, oh, that's not who I am. That's not who the Lord's called me to be. Like that's not the type of person I am anymore.
Yeah. What kind of like advice would you give to someone feeling that way?
I think it's always good to like remember that your past doesn't define you, and even though like mistake after mistake after mistake, the Lord forgives you always. Like, and that's hard because like people aren't as forgiving, and so like when you're so used to people not being forgiving, and you're not used to just like the Lord just forgives. Like you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything at all. He just forgives you. But people aren't that way. So it's hard to kind of have that, like, to learn how to do that. And that's a really hard thing to learn. Something I struggle with.
Yeah.
And it's just, you kind of have to, it's a learning curve, I feel.
What about you, Emily?
Like remembering that Jesus has set you away from certain things, and knowing that your thoughts, like your own thoughts and your feelings, are also like God's too, and it's like you have to remember that like He's in control and not yourself, you know?
Like remind yourself who's in the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
That can be hard sometimes.
Yeah, definitely can be hard sometimes. Talking about like dry seasons and stuff like that, like a personal sort of thing that kind of had me realize, like, because there's a while where I feel like I didn't understand what the Lord was doing in my life, and it was like thing after thing piling up, and I didn't know what to do. And when we were at church camp, which I completely forgot about this until like 2 weeks ago, when I was at church camp, Haley was praying over me and Sylvia, and she had said something to me about how like she can see sort of into my like my future, like being like a flower blooming, like slowly, but
oh yeah,
but
I remember
blooming,
that.
right?
Yeah.
And so it was like slow. She said it was slowly happening, and I was like, bro. But then when she was here for Thanksgiving break, Elijah had said something in one of his messages, and it was just like I remembered that she had said that, and I had looked at my life from like church camp to now, and I like went up to Haley and I just like started crying, and I was like, do you remember?
Wait, was it like last week? Or like
it was whenever Haley was here last.
It's like 2 weeks ago.
It was when Elijah was preaching about that girl, the little girl at church camp.
Yeah.
And it just like reminded me of like
he doesn't even remember.
He doesn't know what he's but it like reminded me of like then I felt so hopeless, and like I was like, I don't know like what I'm gonna do, like how, and now I've had so many things where like the Lord's just brought me through so much, or like it's just really cool to see, because I was like one of those things where like I completely forgot that she had even said that to me,
Yeah.
and then I like had that moment where I was like, oh my goodness, like, and so I had to go tell her, and we were just like sitting there crying together. It was just like
That's
such a sweet moment where we could just both like appreciate everything the Lord's done, and
Like
like
so wholesome.
miss you, Haley.
Come back.
Shout out.
Yeah, come home, please.
Basically, it's okay to realize that things are different and things are changing because that's the way.
It's also
The Lord
normal.
It's proven
Yeah.
God's work.
And you
in your
changing.
life.
I feel like change is scary a lot of the time. And so sometimes when you're like, when it's changing you and you know that, it's kind of weird. Or like if people in your life notice that you're changing,
Mhm.
it's kind of weird. But it's a good change. Like the Jesus change is a good change.
Oh
Okay?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for listening, and we hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week.
A wonderful week.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Back next time.